CISO Choice Awards Vendor Recognition with Richard Stiennon.
Hi, everybody. I'm speaking with Paul Paget, who is the CEO of Black Kite. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Richard.
Congratulations on winning the CISO's Choice Award. Again, for Black Kite, I think a well-deserved recognition of all the things that you've been doing.
Yeah, we're really pleased with it, and this is a particularly important award because of the group and that these are CISOs, not the media, making
right.
this.
Yep, totally. And I know they're gracious enough to ask me to participate, but I bow to the calls that the other judges make because they've got the hands-on experience. They know what they're doing.
Right.
Well, introduce us to Black Kite. What was the origin story? Why Black Kite?
Right. So we saw when we saw what was happening in the security rating space, we just had an idea there was a better way to approach this, and we took an approach that really focused on what the adversaries could see about companies from the outside, not necessarily focused on the building a proprietary rating system. So we used stuff that existed. MITRE has all kinds of ratings. So we used their construct and the MITRE attack framework, and we built a system that uses open ratings that you can understand. And then we sort of enrich that with other information that is useful, which particularly is really what do I have to do to improve the quality of my rating, and then we found our way into other areas like quantitative risk and ransomware susceptibility. So we really built out a whole capability to determine and monitor companies from multiple dimensions. So we sort of use the tagline these days, more than a score, and scores have had a mixed bag of reviews at best.
Yeah. They're a great entry. They're so easy to explain because we're all used to our credit score, right? Though oddly enough, we all hate the credit score, and it's totally unfair, and it's never reflective of reality. But it is easy to understand and conceptualize, and therefore market, I guess. Tell me how it works. A customer comes to you and they say, we want to track our supply base. And it doesn't matter what kind of company it is, right? It could be your trucker for moving parts between your plants, right?
Right. So we've seen an expansion of the market, which started with financial services companies who were required by their auditors, the bank examiners, to actually monitor the third parties. And the third parties to them weren't so much suppliers as they were suppliers of IT services. So they were IT companies, and it made sense. If you outsourced things to other companies, guess what? You're responsible for the security. So they started this whole thing. But what we've seen now with the focus on supply chain and the disruptions that have happened, it started with COVID. It probably turned the spotlight on for the adversaries to say, oh, if we disrupt, the supply chain for a manufacturer, then maybe we can make some ransomware money from that. And so now it's out of control, and they figured out that if they can go, we focus not so much on your own self-assessment or rating. There's a lot of companies that can give you intelligence about yourself. But how do you get your arms around this very distributed network of vendors and suppliers that you use to deliver your goods and services? Again, whether it's a trucking company, we have a big brand name soup company. They said, hey, if the people making the cans can't get disrupted, we can't deliver the soup. We have aircraft engine manufacturer. They rely on all the parts that go into an engine, including the bolts that put it onto the plane. So, these are the practical things that we take for granted. Customers buy from a big brand name, even a retailer, and they just assume that everything behind the curtain is fine. And so organizations are really have been disrupted heavily by adversaries, mostly criminals with ransomware. And now it's in their interest not just to protect their infrastructure, their users, but now that whole ecosystem has moved out. Their partners are really part of their company's ecosystem, even though they don't own them, they don't control them. It's how they go to market, and you can't sort of have your cake and eat it too. You can't outsource everything, get the savings from that, and not be responsible, because the customer doesn't know that, right? And we've all been frustrated by experiences where you try to get something, and then the people you're dealing with, whether it's a retailer, distributor, parts manufacturer, like, they blame it on the other people that are behind them. Like, wait a minute, like, I'm buying from you, you're getting my money, so
Right.
I think you're responsible for that.
Yep.
And so everybody's trying to get on board with it. It's not an easy thing to do. So that's the challenge.
What happens when a supplier learns from its customer that they got a low score from Black Kite? Do they tend to reach out to you for guidance on how to improve their score, or do they already have enough information to do that?
Yeah, we've tried to. So when we first get going, we actually would do that for companies, try to understand, like, what are they trying to understand. But today it's all packaged up, and it's very easy to consume. And what's nice about it is all the findings that roll up to a rating. Every single finding is tagged with a reference to to MITRE, to CVE, CPEs, whatever it happens to be, whatever the data is, the reference point is. It's exactly what a security professional wants to see. Like, okay, I have a high risk vulnerability. It's impacting my rating, but more importantly, I have a high risk vulnerability. Whether it impacts my rating or not, it's kind of secondary. What really matters is I know what it is, I know where it is, and so on. So we started to add things like focus, high profile event information into the system. So it started with SolarWinds and Kaseya. People came to us, they said, hey, can you identify what companies in our base of companies that we work with have this problem, and where is it? So, and then more recently we've seen vulnerabilities from Oracle and MoveIt and Okta. And so we can actually identify. You could have 1,000 third parties. You have 10,000. We can tell you exactly who has the problem, where it is, and then they can share the information, tell them how to fix it. And that's really, and these are we're seeing what the adversary can see. So it's kind of in your interest to be aware of that and deal with it. And when you get good data, you'll act on it. You don't need to have your arm twisted. You're like, you get it. You're like, oh, it's like an OS moment, So I don't know what rating this podcast gets, but
help people who are watching and listening understand or self-identify when they need to reach out to Black Kite.
Well, you're talking about so
what size company, is
okay,
regulatory requirement?
So we primarily deal with large companies across strong industries are financial services, insurance, manufacturing, healthcare, and retail. Those are the biggies, right? And if you think of those organizations, they're all very different, but they have very elaborate distribution networks upstream and downstream, and so those are the organizations that we engage with, and then they engage their third parties. We have pushed the system out through managed service providers, so smaller companies that might want this service can actually get it very, very reasonably on a monthly basis, just like you would buy anything else for themselves. So we're trying to make it available multiple ways, but that's generally. And then if an organization is struggling with, like, well, how do I connect this to my third parties and all that, we help them with that. We want them to share the information. It's all part of the idea. If we can share we've always talked about sharing information in cyber. This is a way to do it. Like, we'll give them stuff that they can share, and it's in both sides' interest to share it. Most of the ransomware is hitting companies of less than 100 million in sales, 90% of it, according to our research. And we actually study the ransomware companies, so we get it from the sources. And those tend to be companies that are deeper in the supplier networks. And those are also organizations that have less sophistication with cybersecurity. So the big companies want to equip and give the smaller partners access to technology that they have. So, we're trying to automate the whole thing and make it very easy to share it.
Fantastic. I'm beginning to understand why I hear so many good things about Black Kite. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, Richard. It's good to see you. Happy New Year. And by the way, thank you to CISOs Connect for the award and the CISOs that worked hard on that. That means a lot to us. It's one of the most prestigious awards you can earn, and we are very, very grateful for the honor.
Stay tuned for more from CISOs Connect.